Thank you for coming on. This is the Open Palm Podcast, and I would love to introduce Mr. Elijah Barber. Thank you, brother.
Woo! Such an honor to be here. I'm out in the sun right now. I just got some fresh coconuts. Coconuts are about to be in season here in Jersey, so I'm about to be copping these bad boys for 69 coconut. But yeah, man, we're enjoying life, man. Doing a lot of work right now, and it's fun and groovy.
You got the coconuts on deck. What is it? A coconut cleanse? What's going on?
Yeah, so today's actually day one of my I'm starting back again up on the liquid fast.
Oh,
As you know, I'm also in the urine therapy UT, and
hmm
I realized that on my urine fast as a type 1 diabetic, I started to experience high traces of ketones. And it's funny because most diabetics, they experience ketones when their sugar is running high. I
mm,
tell you what, on my last Orin fast for 4 days straight, I had an average sugar reading of in the area of 80 to 90, which
mm,
is excellent, absolutely excellent. Had no severe lows. My highest sugar reading was around like 112 over a period of 4 days. And I was doing activity. I was not sitting on my ass all day. I was
right.
very active throughout 4 days of just water and urine. And then on my fourth day, I started to experience really high traces of ketones because I wasn't taking any insulin. Like I was literally on like barely any insulin at all with
Right.
more energy levels than I've ever experienced and with no food whatsoever. And so I'm going through some challenges right now that there are no books on, that there is no one online that is talking about it. And it's forcing me to do a lot of experimentation. And so this
Yeah.
next round of experimentation is going to be incorporating more coconut water into the diet just so I
hmm
can take the practice further and longer. Because my furthest urine fast today is 6 days, and the last 2 days were very painful because of the
Mm.
ketones that I was experiencing. And so I'm hoping to substitute some of that. First of all, I love pain, like bring it all on. But suffering is only so if we're still ignorant over certain things. And so I'm
Mm.
adding coconut water into the diet, and we're going to be just going much further and longer now with the Orin fast as well as with some coconut water on the side.
Nice, nice, brother. So, man, I commend you, bro. Much respect, for the work that you're doing on yourself, and just understanding that you are out here slaying dragons with your health journey, and also, because you've spoken about like the past history of your family, not just you, but the people that have come before you. So, I mean, how do you explain the things that you've been going through?
Yeah, I mean, number one is I'm learning to be more silent than anything else.
Hmm
And what I simply mean by that is it's not my job to project on anything, and even these perspectives that I form, right? On how I mean, you and I both know this, Jerome. Urine therapy is an absolute game changer. It
hmm
is something that has revolutionized both of our lives, and I promise anyone who's listening, if you even are so willing to take a sip of your own urine, I guarantee you immediate results. I guarantee you immediate results. And that's after having 10 to 20 of my friends do it who are completely on the opposite side on the red tape line of like, I'm never drinking it. I'm like, that's fine, don't. But just watch what happens with your life if you give it a try. The only time I like to speak now is when people ask questions. And
hmm
so, believe it or
hmm
not, my mom reaches out to me, and I used to have the worst relationship ever with my mother. We used to not talk. I went a period of 3 years of never speaking a single word, not a single text message to her, just because my sexual energy was destroyed. My whole perception, my relationship with her was destroyed based off my own egotistic viewpoints. And it took me a while to come to peace with that. And believe it or not, I came to peace with that through urine therapy. But she reaches out to me and she asks me questions now because she
Wow.
sees what I'm doing. And she's like, Elijah,
Yeah.
listen to this. Here's some crazy information, man. I think you're going to love this a lot. My mom's gone 60 days without pooping.
Wow.
60. 60 days without pooping. She's been to every single doctor that you can imagine, okay? Of course, in the Western world. Um, and they've always prescribed her insulin and more medicine and all this other stuff that continues the same process of her not pooping. So it's never fixing the root issue.
Yeah.
And I called her one day, and this is when I first got into juicing almost 7 months ago, and when I really started to pursue urine therapy. And I said, Mom, like, when's the last time you went poop? And she
Right.
was like, it's been about 15 days. And I said, Mom, like, how do you feel? She says, son, I'm sicker than I've ever been in my life. And I
Oh
said,
man.
well, what are we going to do about that? And she's like, I've been looking, I've been searching. And I said, well, Mom, if you're open, I could share something with you that might help. I don't know if it will, but it might. And she's like, I'm open for it. And so she took a sip of her urine, and then I bought her a juicer, and I sent her a juicer, and she started juicing celery juice, man. And the first
Nice.
first day that she had a sip of her urine, the celery juice, she went to the bathroom 4 times that day.
Woo!
And she's been doing it every single day since. And she says, son, my pooping problems no longer exist. And I said, don't thank me. Thank yourself for taking action on what you know is right. Because this
Right.
path that we are walking is literally, it is the right, there is a right and wrong path. There is. People say there's not, but there is. And you only know that when you tune into your heart, when you start to listen, and when you start to follow the path that God has guided for you. And so that's
Wow.
my job right now, is literally just being silent, listening, truly listening. And then, when brothers as yourself come on, like, I love to have conversations with sharp-minded individuals such as Jerome. For anyone who's listening on this podcast, y'all in good hands. Trust me. Trust me with Jerome, baby. Let's go.
Man, that is so powerful, Eli, man. Like, thank you for speaking on that, because the impact that you can have on your family is tremendous. I like that your method is just being silent until you are asked questions. And then when people ask, when people seek, they shall find,
Yeah.
So I
And it's
really
very
love that.
hard. It's
Hmm.
very hard because I'm like, I see all your pain, I see all your suffering, and like I have a simple solution for it that's so easy and free and simple. I'm like, but like at a time, and I'm sure you can relate, like I myself was not ready to receive. Like this information that we are now sharing, as well as the information that we are implementing to our own lives, has been
Hmm.
around for centuries. This is nothing new.
Hmm.
This is reversing type 1 diabetes, reversing disease. This stuff is nothing new. Changing your life in a matter of a decision and instance, none of this stuff is new. But the truth is that we have a lot of karma that we have to work through. And the only person that can work through our karma is ourself.
Right.
Nobody else can do it for us. And so like
Right.
that's a hard lesson for me to even swallow today because like I have I'm in the real estate business. Like I have multimillionaires around me, like in every one of my corners and in my phone book. And like I'm like, I see the way that y'all like consume your diets and the way you guys eat, and you guys are sitting here on Facebook complaining about allergies. I'm like, look what the hell you eating, yo. Like
Mm.
this is why you suffering out in nature. Like, but it's like I can't like it's not my space to speak on that. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And it's such a hard pill to swallow, but this is all part of the practice of silence. It's
Yeah.
funny. I had a gentleman who I've done several deals with. We've put over few $100,000 together on deals before. He called me because I haven't spoken with him in a few months, and he owns an eyeglass company, right? So he sells glasses to people who have bad eyes, and I'm just simply like, yo, just wash your urine in your eyes and go out in the sun and look at the sun. You'll be good. But he sells glasses, and so anyway, he called me yesterday and he was just like, like I'm bored with my life and all this stuff. And like he sees, I'm not saying that I'm doing anything in particular, but like just the way that I live my life, like I try to live with energy. And so through the fasting, through the silence, through healing the relationship with the traumatic relationship with my mother, through healing the masculine within my father, through opening up space for my family, as well as for like now anyone that I cross paths with, um, it's been nothing but an enhancement. Whether
Yeah.
that means financially, whether that means more importantly with my heart opening up, and it's been nothing but growth, like simply growth. But with growth comes a lot of deconstruction, and that's
Yeah.
the part of the journey that's more fun for me, is literally seeing like all these old habits and patterns that I've put in place for myself, and then watching myself suffer in those a little bit longer. Like I'm like,
Mm.
yo, I know I got this bad pattern and I'm going to do it a few more times just because like that's where I'm at right now. It's
Mm.
like, holy smokes, like I just had a potato. a steamed potato.
Mhm. Mhm.
And it was like, I'm trying to be on juices and liquids and like nothing at all and breath work. And I'm like, but I'm craving a potato, you know? And so
Yeah.
it's like there's this whole dance between the yin and the yang, the dualities. And it's really just really falling in love with the process of deconstruction and not being hard on myself.
Mhm.
But at the same time, like truly listening, like listening to my heart, like, why am I doing what I'm doing? Is this out of
Right.
fear or is this out of love? And majority of the time, I want that potato because I think I'll never have a bite again.
Mm.
So it's actually
Mhm.
derived from fear, which is not a good place to live in.
Mm. Man, on another note as well, when it comes to that, I battled so many years. I haven't told many people, but I have
Well, we're
told a
getting the good
few.
information, baby. We're getting the good information today, ladies and gentlemen. Come on.
I have spoken on this before, but man, for years, pornography,
Yep.
for years and years and years, Eli.
Mm.
And you talk about how it was the destruction of that sexual energy. I really commend you for speaking on it. Just you know, the way that you speak on it in a way that really lets people know, like this was crushing, and it is just yeah, I just don't people think people even realize, but there are more people coming to an awareness ever more today with all sorts of things online. You've seen like no fap, semen retention, like all sorts of different videos coming out. But yeah, personally, pornography was a big one for me for years, brother. Yeah.
So if you don't mind me asking, why do you feel that pattern was created, and then what was your process for nurturing it and evolving out and evolving it?
Yeah, great question. I think just loving myself more, loving myself enough not to um
Wait, is this why it was created, or is this how you evolved out of it?
no, this is how I evolved out of it.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
I evolved out of it because I was so low. My vibration was so low at a point where and I mean, when I started it, it was before I knew anything about energy, vibration, frequency. I didn't know anything about that stuff when I started. I started in my early teens.
Yeah,
My early teens I started, and it was just from a picture. Like I had never seen I'd never seen like a female in that light before,
right. Mm-hmm.
And so when I did, it opened up a whole door that led me down paths that I never thought I'd go down. And it was progressive. You know how progressive it can get from one thing to the next thing to the next thing. And it's like,
Yeah.
you have, I still to this day, I have like all these names in my subconscious and I just, all these images and stuff. And
Yep.
so it took a long time to heal, to heal my relationship with females, like just the relationship that I have with the opposite sex. So it took a long time to heal that, and I'm glad that I was able to do that. But yeah, it actually just like how we talk about people who make profound change.
Right.
I feel like it only happens due to inspiration or desperation,
Mm.
and sometimes it's a mixture of both. Sometimes we're inspired and we're desperate, but I was definitely desperate. I had lost a lot in my life,
Right.
and it led me down the path of healing. So thank you for asking me, brother.
No, thank you for sharing, man. That's powerful. By the way, guys, this is where you get the unreleased information. So make sure you subscribe. Let's go.
Oh man.
This whole journey is about fun for me. Um,
Yeah.
there's some very serious work happening right now, and Jerome's been on this path longer than I have. There is some very serious work that goes down, but
Hmm.
I think one of the things that have been like so important for me is like smiling throughout all the bullshit that comes up and
Mm.
keeping that smile even at like the lowest points. And whenever I do that, it makes it so much more fun. You could talk about semen
Yeah.
retention with anybody. I was just at uh, a juice shop in you're not from Jersey, but like I was at a juice shop in Jersey, man. There was a 60-year-old lady. She was talking. She started the conversation with me, and she was
Mm.
like, you look like you're very happy, and I'm sitting by myself, yo. Like I'm not around nobody, like, and I wasn't even like trying to look happy. It's just I was resonating at this vibration. And
Right.
I was talking with her about semen retention, and we were laughing about it with a
Mm-hmm.
60-year-old lady, man. Like, come on, yo, like this is supposed to be fun. It's not supposed to
Right.
be hard and painful and all this stuff. Like, it's supposed to be fun. So don't be afraid to smile a little bit more and to,
Right.
start conversations with people, even if it doesn't go as you expect it to.
Exactly. Exactly. You know, Elijah, you remind me of the quote, life is too important to be taken seriously. I
Mm,
remember this quote.
that's a good quote, yeah.
So just being able to laugh and bring an amount of levity to every situation is a blessing, man. It's healing.
And I
That's
got
another level.
and I gotta say, Jerome, you have probably like one of the most purest laughs I've ever heard in my life. No, I'm so serious. Like, dude, first time I heard you laugh, I'm like, yo, I could go to sleep to this guy laughing. It's so beautiful.
What is your definition, Eli, of holistic healing?
Yeah, I think this is something that was very foreign to me for a long time. And I think more than anything, the whole idea behind holistic is a practice of returning back to whatever is naturally easier.
Mm-hmm.
And I use the word naturally there because that involves nature, which means
Mm.
returning back to nature. And typically, like I'm literally sitting on water right now, looking out amongst water.
Yeah.
When I'm in states of nature, everything in life is so much more simple.
Yeah.
And the most important thing, though, is for me to take these practices that I'm learning in nature and being able to go into the middle of the city or into a homeless shelter, because we volunteer at homeless shelters all the time, or to go into the middle of the ghetto and still live that same vibration at all times.
Yeah.
And so, holistic, healing has nothing to do with diet to me. It has nothing to do with breath work. Those are all techniques and practices amongst the holistic lifestyle. But more than anything, it's literally about returning back to peace and being able to carry that peace with you wherever you are in the world, no matter what you're going through.
Nice. Returning back to peace and carrying that peace with you. I love it. I love it. Man, thank you for
That's a
that.
good question. I never even thought about that. I'm
Oh,
creating a holistic farmers market right now in Jersey City. So it's going to be the first holistic farmers market literally in New Jersey.
awesome.
And we got the whole city involved. Like everyone's pumped up about it. We should have it up and running within the next 45 days. But like we're bringing out local vegan, plant-based, organic produce, as well as, the
Yeah.
restaurants. We're going to have local artists coming out. We're going to have musicians, as well as, a DJ, probably a DJ for the first few days, just because food and music are the number two things for any successful party, and we're going to be throwing
Mm-hmm.
a party every single Saturday at this holistic farmers market. So it's
Whoo!
it's funny that you asked this question, because I'm like, yo, I should probably sit on this and meditate on it a little bit more, because we're doing some profound work in that space right now. The cold has been a beautiful experience, not only for my type 1 diabetes, but also just for my mental state. And just to note, like, I was taking cold showers because I played sports in high school. I was taking cold showers like maybe once a month or something like that. Nothing that I would call a practice or something that I was, commit. Yeah, practice is something to me that you're committed to. So nothing I would call a practice. And when I got started with the breath work with Devon, that's when I was like, yo, like I gotta find ways to just really understand what it means to deepen this breath. And quite honestly, for me, it was a
Mm-hmm.
struggle to sit there and breathe for like an hour. Like I didn't enjoy that. I had no
Mm.
excitement, no thrill from that, and therefore I didn't want to do it. And then I realized that, like, yo, if I can spend 60 seconds in some cold water, it's like I sat there for an hour by myself in silence. And I
Mm.
remember one day my sugar was like a little high. It was like around 160. And for anyone who's a type 1 diabetic, as soon as you get above 140, you start to lose, body cells. And so my sugar was around like 160, and I went and sat in the cold water by myself in an ocean for like 2-3 minutes. And when I came out of the ocean, my sugar was back down at like 120, and I didn't take any insulin or anything. And
Whoa.
so I was like, wow, this is very
Wow.
interesting. And plus, that's what happened, you know, with the diabetes. But then in addition to that, the breath got deeper, the calmness got deeper, getting over that state of fear that comes up for the first, you know, half a second that you're in there and you want to jump out.
Yeah.
Really learning to push past all those things. And then, I mean, today, like we've broken records at the spa for the cold plunge. That stuff's too easy. Like I'm trying to go to Russia, you know, like where the real cold dogs are, and do some cold therapy with
Whew.
them, because I think they're at a whole nother level than I'm at with it. I've taken 20 to 30 people in like 10-degree water in the middle of January when it was like ice outside. And so I don't practice Wim Hof. I love Wim Hof. He's an absolute amazing individual, human being. Our breath work is slightly a little different. Keep in mind, I do follow Devon's system with the breath work, who's a mutual friend of Jerome and ours. But yeah, it was literally like being in 60, like the 60 seconds being out there in the cold by yourself, was a resemblance to like me meditating for an hour by myself. So what I thought I knew yesterday is nothing compared to what I know today. And so each and every
Dang.
day is like a whole like new sort of evolvement of learning from all these ignorant mistakes that I make. And when I say ignorant mistakes, I mean these ignorant habits and patterns that I have in place. And that includes everything from
Mm-hmm.
communication. I don't know if many people know this, but like some of the greatest gurus in the world, they are communication masters, yo. They are
Mm.
communication masters. And what's beautiful about them is they say the least amount of words, but it moves some of the greatest
Mm-hmm.
mountains in the world. And majority of the
Mm-hmm.
time, they just sitting in silence, yo. They ain't even talking. And so when we start looking at practices such as communication, such as cold therapy, like all these things, you know, they're all very correlated, and they all lead back to the same place. And so for me, it's like it's literally about like let's go even deeper today. You know, let's be a little bit more silent. Let's when we speak, like
Mm-hmm.
I'm ready to move mountains, and I'm not even talking about mountains within others, but like within myself. So making sure I'm speaking from my
Yeah.
heart and not my head. So that's like the big secret for me right now is like learning to speak from my heart versus speaking from my head. It's interesting, you know, because it's like there's this whole dance between the teacher and the student. And, you know, at the end of the day, like I try to be my own best teacher for myself, which means I also have to be my own best student, which means I really have to learn to listen and observe and see the truth. And doing cold plunges with like other brothers and sisters, and just seeing how, because for me, it's a much different state today, because it's like I've kind of evolved past that state of fear within that space. And quite honestly, I'm really starting to evolve past it with all things. Like even with this holistic farmers market, dude, I've never ran a farmers market in my life. I have zero
Yeah.
experience. I've never ran a nonprofit in my life. I've never organized events. I have a business partner who has, but he's not involved in this because he's not into the holistic movement. And so like this is something that I'm
Right.
literally starting from absolute scratch with absolutely nothing. I'm not using any of my own money. I'm not using any of my resources. Like I'm starting all this as though I have nothing. When you're a beggar, you are not beneficial to society at all. And Muhammad Ghani's like, you should make as much money as you possibly can and give it all away. And I was like,
Mm.
holy smokes, like, here's a guy who literally lives with absolutely nothing. This guy sits on the floor, doesn't own a single couch or bed, sleeps on the floor. One of the most impactful people in the world. And he doesn't have a penny to his name, yo. And so it's
Wow.
like, you know, you ask, it's at the end of the day, like life to me is about skill sets. And, you know, communication is a skill set. The ability to face your fears is a skill set. The ability to know your truth, like these are all different forms of skill sets. You playing the flute is a skill set. There's like the scientific way of like actually learning the flute, but then comes like the intuitive skill set of like learning to listen to the vibration and then learning to match vibrations.
Yeah.
And so like there's levels to skill
Yeah.
sets, but like yeah, like just to keep it simple, like how has it helped me? Like it's literally been the reason that I've been able to heal the relationship with my mom. It's been the reason that I've been able to
Wow.
reverse type 1 diabetes. I haven't completely reversed it yet, but like reversing type 1 diabetes. It's the reason that, I'm starting to cultivate like this inner chi within myself that doesn't need or want
Yeah.
anyone. I'm just simply involved with everything because it's just out of enjoyment. Like there's no expectation, or I don't want any possessions. Like I'm just now going through the process of learning to let go of my dreams with money, because I've achieved a lot of financial success at a young age, and especially with the skill sets within the real estate
Hmm.
space. But I'm just now hitting a state where like Muhammad Gandhi said, he's like, yo, you should make a lot of money and give it all away. And I'm like, that's a whole new perspective for me, because I'm used to, seeing a few
Yeah.
commas in the bank account and being chill, and not having to feel like I gotta go
Right.
out here and do anything. And so it's really nurturing that whole new relationship. So I guess a fear that still does exist is, yeah, I mean, like, I guess I still kind of do have a fear with money, and quite honestly, I still do have a fear with love, which is why anger still continues to rise in myself right now. And these are things that, as I sit in silence, as I observe looking out amongst this water, answers just start coming to me. And it's my job to listen to these answers and execute them. Get involved. That's the most important thing for me. Get involved, whether that means
Yeah.
like literally offering to help. First of all, I don't know if you guys know this, but Jerome is a sharp dude. And I'm not just saying that because you're on here like to like, uh, blow your boat or anything, but like dude, this dude has some crazy connections. He's got a lot of like sick information, that he's willing to share. And I mean, he's doing podcasts right now, so it's like, get involved in any way that's in front of you at the moment. It's interesting because I just finished literally my favorite book in the entire world. Like, this book trumps any book that I've ever laid eyes on, and it's the autobiography of a yogi. And Yogananda was surrounded
Yeah.
around levitating yogis and saints, and like when he was like 16, 17, 18 years old. Okay, so he was extremely young, but then his
Yeah.
master's master really didn't understand ascension until he was like in his mid 30s. And so like after reading these guys' stories and just kind of their process for things, like I see one similar thing, and that is like they were always in the state of service, some way or somehow, whether that's
Mm.
volunteering, whether that's showing up to someone's event. They were in the state of service, and as they were in the state of service, they would slowly but surely start to progress, and they would start to evolve themselves. And so for me, it's like, it's reaching out, it's starting the conversation, knowing that you're probably going to mess it up and say something crazy, but who cares? Because if you run across real people such as Jerome, and the people that Jerome associate, they're not going to judge you because you said the wrong things, but instead they're going to help nurture whatever path you're on. So keep that in mind, as like, when you meet real
Right.
people, like you'll know when someone's real. You'll feel it within your heart. Um, but yeah, to me, it's all about service.
Yeah.
So get involved some way, somehow. I wish I would have been involved. Not I wish. If I could tell my younger self like to get involved much faster, do it. And as you get involved, you'll notice fears that come up. Sit with those fears and ask yourself, why do they come up?
Thank you, brother, for coming on. Really appreciate your presence. If there's one thing that you have in
Mm.
abundance, it's energy.
Nah,
Energy,
thank you,
bro.
bro.
So
It's always
thank
a
you.
pleasure time, and I'm sure we'll do many more of these, hopefully.
Guys out there,
Peace,
brother.
love,
We
and
need
light,
you.
baby. Let's get it.